along the way that you like was going on this journey, like from Life Off You to what you're doing now, I know there was some up and downs. Like I said, as being your roommate, I seen this like firsthand. I seen what you was going through. Tell us about some of the struggles, whether it be physically, mentally, or emotionally, that you endured during that time span. During the time span you have been here at UK so far, because I know like you're about to graduate and you've been for 4 years and you've done a lot. And talk to us about like what you do, because some people don't realize, like some people think that like being successful don't come with any type of hard times. It's just an easy selling, like you can just get straight to it and like there's no problems, like it's no up and down roller coaster in the motion of life. So talk to us about like the roller coaster ride that you have been through so far during your 4-year tenure here at UK.
Well, I'll say for anybody who thinks that hard work is an overnight thing, it's a lot of nights, because the overnight success has usually had about 10 years of overnighting.
Yeah.
So it's never that easy. I know when I started Life Off You, the first 7 or 8 months, we weren't even really making any money. I was not prepared for how exhausting and how time consuming it was, because I had read books and listened to podcasts about entrepreneurship, and I learned how to spell the word. And I was like, oh, I'm an expert now. So I'll just start this business, and then the business will come, and I'll just make money, and it'll just be easy. And I realized, no, you're a marketer, but you also need to be a website designer. You also need to be a contract negotiator, and you need to be a strategic partner with all these different organizations, and you need to understand how to make a pro forma and understand your cash flows. And if you have this company and you're spending this much on their advertising to get that traction on your website, and you have a bounce rate of this, how many people do you need to come on the website to make that a net positive transaction and a net positive product to sell, basically? And that took a really long time for me to figure out, and that was during sophomore year when I first started. And of course there was a lot going on that time, just in my personal life and school and my other jobs I was working. It was just a lot going on. That was not my best time. And
Now would you say there was a lot going on mentally or emotionally during that time?
oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, it was a ton. I was around the end of my relationship at that point, because I pretty much was in a relationship from the time I got here until the end of sophomore year. I remember I met this girl, never met her before. She was from Texas. And me and her literally met like the day after moving day my freshman year, and we were officially in a relationship the first week of September. So we went quick. And I was with her that whole time, and around that sophomore year time, we were just fizzling out, and we realized that we just went into things so quickly that we didn't even realize that we were compatible, and we just realized that at the end of the relationship.
Yeah.
But there was that fight to say, well, we don't want it to fizzle out like this, so let's try to make it work. And, you know, you're just taking this round peg and you're shoving it in this square hole, and you're just trying to keep jamming it in there, because you think if I keep pushing it in there, eventually it'll just like curve itself around the hole. And I did that for the longest time, and that just didn't work, and that was really bad for my emotional and mental psyche. Then physically, I wasn't eating healthy. I wasn't working out as much as I used to. I still don't. But you had to tell them that. I'm getting better. I'm getting better about it, and I got these healthy breakfast
We
bowls.
learn something every day, man.
You learn something every day.
Every day it's a lesson.
I'm 21. You know, I ain't got it all figured yet. We still on this redemption arc. We're still riding it up.
We still riding up.
We still riding up the redemption arc. But it was in school. I moved off campus, and I'm not an academic. I graduated high school with like a 2.4 unweighted GPA.
A lot of people want to know that. They looking at you now, a lot of people wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, but you know, there's actually studies that show that people who tend to be more successful aren't the A students, it's the C students.
Yeah.
Because they're usually so engaged in extracurricular activity that their school suffers. Their school academic career suffers a little bit. And there's actual research that backs that. So it's not really something that I go around proudly saying, oh, well, I have a 2.5 GPA. It's not something I'm going to put on my resume. But at the same time, I don't really look at it as being such a negative thing. It's all about perspective. You know, if you're an academic and you're trying to get into grad school or be a PhD student, you know, maybe that's not a good thing. But for me, my grades have never really been the thing that has identified my value. It's always been, what can I do? What are my skills? Can I go in a room and can I inspire and influence people? Can I walk in a room of people who are 40 years old with a lot more life and business experience than me and convince them that I'm the guy they need to pay to help them solve the problem that they have? And I feel like that's where my value is. And in the real world, that's the only value that people care about, because between you having a 4.0 with no skills and the guy with a 2.5 who does, more often than not, unless you got an in with that guy, you're not going to get picked. So that's really what that's all about. And going back to a question, because we just went on a little bit of a tangent though.
Yeah.
But Yeah, there was a lot going on that year, and I wouldn't even say that just that year, because obviously junior year there was a lot of troubles that year with workload management. I was toxically workaholic. We're actually in Blazer right now, and I used to sleep in this building some nights because I would stay here all night. I was here till 8 a.m. last night actually, working on stuff, and
8 a.m. this morning.
8 a.m. this morning, 8 a.m. this morning, I literally went home, 2.5 hour nap, and then came here for this podcast. But I struggle with some things, and I still do. But I think those struggles and the hard times are part of success. And honestly, if somebody could tell me you could have a magic wand to just be good at something automatically without grinding for it, I still probably wouldn't take it, because I feel like the process of finding success is usually the part about success that makes it feel good. Like, there are people who made a lot of money winning the lottery, but they don't value that money or what it can do for them because they didn't work for it. It was just a huge windfall.
Yeah.
And they spend it stupidly, and they just blow it on this and fancy cars, fancy jewelry, nice house, new shoes, new clothes, and all that. But a person who works harder for their money and grinds it out and really knows the value of their time, of the effort they put into building whatever it is they built, whether it be a professional career, whether it be a business, whether it be a podcast, whether it be an acting career, it doesn't really matter. They recognize that more than the person who was just spoon-fed it on a silver platter. And something that I try to keep in perspective every day.
So you're one of those people who, because I agree with you with that, because in that process of like grinding out and getting to where you want to be in life, you learn not only about the career path you're going on more, but you learn more about yourself. Because like that's why I was asking like some of the hardships that you developed through your tenure here and just throughout life, because the process, and you hear a lot of people talk about it, like a lot of success people talk about, the process is more fun than the actual success itself. And yet there are like some times where it's like you hate it because like you're just down on your luck and you're just trying, and sometimes you don't see that light at the end of the tunnel. But the more you just keep pushing, the more you forcing that light open to show, and eventually you'll get that shine that you so wanted to, like that you feel that you'll deserve. Because not only have you worked so hard for it, but you'll come to a point where like you're more focused, you're in a better mental state, you'll understand like your career and like yourself more after going through that process of grinding it out.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just I've learned so much about myself, and I'm a really nostalgic person. Like in high school, when I was graduating, I was just feeling like, oh my God, I changed so much from freshman year. I was here. There was this knuckleheaded, hyperactive nerd, no hairline, no style, no real substance. I was just trying to find a way to be cool. And then from time I was, my first day walking on Louisville Male High School's campus to the day that I left, and I was just reflecting, and I realized I'm just a totally different person. And it's funny that as you get older and you recognize that you're developing, you keep thinking that this is my final form. And then you keep surprising yourself, because as you go through these hardships and these struggles, you learn something about yourself that you didn't even realize you didn't know. And that's how I felt when I was a freshman. I felt like I got it figured out. This is the path I want to take. This is the mindset I have. These are my values. This is what I believe in. And now here I am, about 4 months out from graduation. I'm looking at my freshman self and thinking, who is this kid? What's his problem? What's his deal? Because I wouldn't say I'm a different person, but I would say I'm the same person, but just with a little bit more life experience to pat on top of that. I've taken this foundation that I already had, right? Mm-hmm. And I just built on it. So I'm still the same at my core, but the exterior's changed a little bit. We've added a floor here, and we might have added a space over there. And we realized
you renovated a little
bit. We just renovated. We cleaned up a little bit. Yeah. We had to clean it up.
Knock out some cobwebs.
Knock out some cobwebs.
Repaint the walls.
Buff out those scratches. And now I'm looking at myself and thinking,
hinges.
Right, fix those hinges, knock out that wall over there that really doesn't deserve to be there. Like, why are you in my building? This is the dingy little wall. It can't support me, so why is it here? Yeah. Let's knock that out of here. We got to get that. That's got to go. And now I'm looking at myself, and again, I'm looking at the building and thinking, this is a nice building. But just like architecture, it changes every day with the times, as the economy changes, as my circle changes, as my desires, my value sets, my morality and my ethics and what I believe in changes. And every day I got to go back in there and renovate. And I love that process because I learn something more about myself every day. And usually, more often than not, I learned something that is positive and moves me in the right direction versus vice the other way around.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, I completely agree. 'Cause like I said, going throughout my 3 years being here, because like granted, you do graduate this year, I graduate next semester. Like just going throughout that time, because that same process of where you thought like you had it all figured out your first year here, like I had that same amount of process too. Because like me being 1 year removed, I'm like coming from the National Guard, like taking a year off doing training and stuff. I'm thinking I'm gonna be this. I already know what I'm gonna do. Blah blah blah. But it took me to me be down my luck mentally and emotionally to like realize like hold on, like I have to evolve still and still change, because there's just a certain mindset you go into things that you might not come out with the same mindset at the end of life, like of when you just in a certain tenure that you at a certain place, like as you said yourself, like when you came here your freshman year versus who you are now, you are the same person at your core, but you changed some things, and that's this is a learning process. Not that you don't even experience, not even just in college, like just in this age that we at, like we're still developing. Like our mind hasn't even fully developed yet. We're not even like the mind just stops developing at age 25. That's still like 4 years from now, or 3 years from now for us. Like, and for people our age that's going through that process of like just still like figuring themselves out and like still like just trying to figure out their footing in life. Like it's a process. Like you're not gonna have it figured out immediately. Like some people think. And I feel like that's sometimes a problem with social media, just in this age we live in with technology.
Oh, definitely.
People think that like they see somebody get successful, and like you said, they think it's an overnight success. When really it's not. Like it's a process. And some people like we'll see like even like with artists and some athletes, because we see them in the spotlight at such a young age. We'll see them go through their evolution in front of our faces because they're in the spotlight, and the cameras and just the life and society in general is like heavy on them. And we see them, like if you listen to some people's music, you see the way some athletes talk, and some people that's in the business of just entertainment or just in general. You see them evolving in front of our eyes, and it's hard. And I think now like people are starting to realize that more, because more of mental health and just self-awareness of just who people are is becoming more and more prevalent in today's society, because it is a process. And that's just something like I harped on, especially now, and just because it's something I had to realize that, because I mean, yeah, we realize changes as we get older. We realize like some things that we do from like granted from when we was in elementary school to middle school and to high school and to now, but like the more that we got older, the more we realized these changes, the more we became able to identify these problems and to like talk about and just evolve and know the things that we like and what we don't like. It's like you said, it's just an ever-growing process. I know I kind of talked to you about like what you did your freshman year, and I wanted you to like continue on more so like past that the struggles you was going through with your ex-girlfriend. Like, what other struggles have you endured? Like whether it be with your business ventures or just throughout, like I said, the rest of your tenure here, like past sophomore year. Like just talk to us more about that as well.
I would say the biggest challenge has always been a balance of work life.
Yeah.
That's something that people, you included, always get on me about.
Yeah, I was a big proponent on that, because I'll let you go ahead. Just go ahead.
Yeah, but it's just been something that I've struggled with a lot, because I look up to people like Kobe or Gary Vee or these people who say just work. If you have a goal and every waking second isn't moved in the direction of achieving that goal, then it's wasted time. And I'm a big believer in that, especially last year. And I felt like any moment I was awake, I need to be chasing this goal. So there's no time for self-care. Sometimes it's not time for eating or sleeping or hanging out with friends or even taking a break to watch a movie or just relax. Everything has to be towards that. So it means reading a book. It means going to a conference call. It means hopping on a conference call. It means going to a networking event. It means studying the craft. It means developing new skills. And I would do that every day, every waking moment, to the point that I would just be exhausted. And I would sleep in this building just so I can make sure that I optimize my time, because that time between transporting myself from here to my apartment and then back was wasted time. And that's something I've still struggled with. I'm getting a lot better now because my perspective has changed a little bit, where I recognize that you can't pour out of an empty cup. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We're not robots. And if you just keep going full speed all the time, it's just like even an Olympic runner. You know, like I remember when I ran track, I used to run the 400. And I remember I would start the race in a dead sprint. and I would be blowing out everybody because by the time I hit the 200 meter line, I was just sprinting the whole way. I was in like 25 seconds, and I was killing everybody. They were like 50 meters behind me. I was thinking, oh, yeah, easy dub. But I had gone so hard in the beginning that in the middle, I lost so much gas, I ended up coming in last in that race. And I was thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why did I lose? I went harder than everybody else. They said, well, you went so hard that you fizzled out. You burnt out. You didn't pace yourself. And I'm starting to learn that pace is more important than speed.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, man.
Exactly. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You know, because there's two things that are important in being successful. There's consistency and there's intensity. Now, for me, I always thought intensity was the most important thing. Like, go hard. When you're in the gym, when you're working on something, when you're doing anything, you need to go all in all day. And that was just all intensity, all effort, all just foot on the gas, go, 100 miles an hour. But I realize now as I've matured that intensity is important. You still need an aspect of intensity because that's kind of what gets you up out of bed, and that's what makes the time that you spend working on something worthwhile. But what's more important is consistency. Just like the typical person, they'll start something, and for the first week, 2 weeks, month, maybe even 3 months, they'll go so hard at it, and then it won't work the way they wanted it to, and that intensity fades. And at that point, it's not a game of intensity, it's a game of consistency. Like, are you going to be willing to go and work on this podcast when you're only getting like 15 views or 20 listens? Which we won't. We're going to get a lot more than that. But in the cases that were to happen, if you were to consistently do this every week, and for the first 7 to 12 times you did this, you only got like 20 to 30 viewers, and you had like 1 or 2 comments and maybe 50 likes on Instagram, how consistent are you going to be at that? Because intensity is when you have a big audience when you first start and you get 100 likes and people are commenting, I love this, I love this, I love this. That's how it started with me with Life Off You. Like, I made my first promo video saying I'm launching this business, and I got a lot of traction, a lot of engagement, and I had like 20 comments, people saying, yeah, George, do it. And then by October that year, all the people who were excited for me had just fizzled out and said, well, it's old news. What else you got? And you just got to keep evolving to keep that consistent intensity in what you're doing. And a lot of people don't have that. So I'm trying to figure out how to find a perfect balance between that consistency of doing things constantly, but lowering my intensity of still going hard enough to do a good job and come out a better person and develop some skills, develop whatever it is I'm working on, but not to the point that by the time I hit that 200, I got nothing left.
Yeah, just finding that balance in between, like you said, that consistency and intensity. Because like you said, like, that was my problem the first time I did this podcast, like 2 years ago. Like, I was putting it out every week or every couple of days or so. That's what I was talking about, like wrestling and basketball at that time. And I had a good little start with it. Like, I'm having a good little start right now with this one. But like you said, I was putting out, I think I put out like, 12 or 13 episodes of that last podcast. And eventually I fizzled out because it was, I think to me, I didn't like how the reception I was getting, because I thought I was going to get more reception. Like, I thought I was going to get more people to watch, more people was going to pay attention. Like, I just thought I was going to blow up so quick. And it goes back to that last one where you talk about like how life is just a process. I didn't understand that at that time. So with this one, I had to like have a conversation with myself, because like, this is stuff I want to do anyway. So it's like, I don't care. Like, yeah, people going to like it right now, but give it 10 weeks from now, then when I'm still doing this,
I'm never gonna forget about it. That's how it happened with Life Off You. The first 5 to 8 months I did that, I was seeing maybe like 100 visitors on our website for an entire month. I wasn't making any money. The companies I was working with saying, George, we need you to deliver. Like, we're not paying you out of charity. This isn't a 501c3. This is a for-profit organization. If you want to keep getting paid, you need to do the work.
Yeah.
And I figured, I have this thing, and it's so great, and it's so cool. Why doesn't everybody love it the same way they did when they first heard of it? And it's just like how it is with anything. You buy a new pair of shoes, and it's just the hottest thing, and you want to wear it with every fit, and you're going to find a way to make that magenta go with green or this and that. And then one day, you just look at it and say, it's old news. And what else I got? Let me go find a new pair of shoes somewhere else. And people are fickle like that. Consumers, just be honest, they're fickle. They really just don't care about you as far as what you do for them. Like, as soon as the value of what you're doing for them has diminished, even a little bit, their interest just wanes. And they're always looking for that new shiny object for you starting your podcast. But then next week, somebody's going to start a taco truck, and that guy's going to start a clothing brand, and this and that. And the attention's just going to keep flipping from one person to the next person, the next person. And if you're good at what you do, you can find a way to keep them interested enough in you that they keep coming back. But especially when you're first starting out and there's that learning curve of trying to figure out, how do I do that? The people are just not going to care.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to weather that storm of people's apathy for what you think is great.